My name is Ben Lilliston. I'm the Director of Climate and Rural Strategies at the Institute for Agriculture and Trade Policy. And I'm going to talk about an article I wrote about the shrinking cattle herd, climate change, trade, prices that farmers are paid and prices that consumers are paid, and how all those pieces fit together. So the cattle herd has shrunk, and that's due to a multi-year drought. It started out west and worked its way across the Great Plains, and it turns out the cattle are particularly affected by climate change. So specifically, we have the lowest cattle herd that we have had in the United States in 70 years. And that has also lowered climate emissions. In the agriculture sector, cattle are the largest source of methane emissions, and methane is a potent greenhouse gas. So with fewer cattle, we have fewer emissions, so emissions are going down. We also have better prices for ranchers. Fewer cattle means lower supply, but better prices. The other thing that's happening is consumers are paying more. So in June, consumers paid the most for ground beef, I think over $6 a pound. So all these pieces are happening around a cattle herd, and it was all unintentional. This was not a plan. This was sort of climate impacts affecting the size of the herd. And it made us think a lot about what are the lessons that we could be learning from this current situation in beef and cattle, and how could it fit into a just transition? It turns out a lower cattle herd can reduce emissions. We know that, but it could also help improve income for farmers and ranchers so they could get a fair price, they could stay on the land. And if we had planned it out, we could make sure that prices don't shoot up too much for consumers and look at alternative proteins for consumers and how they might be able to, whether they switch to other animals or whether it's more plant-forward types of diets. What is a just transition for cattle, and what is a just transition for our food system? And when we think about a just transition, we're thinking about how do we reduce emissions, how do we build resilience, how do we make sure farmers are paid fairly and rural communities benefit. In the US, that's a tough conversation to have, but we need to start having it. There's currently no policy around the cattle herd and very little discussion in the United States about what the size should be and how it might benefit both the climate and farmers.